Hey guys, so with the amount of people changing jobs nowadays, we just wanted to do a brief video on the importance of reviewing your old company pension schemes and taking charge of them and knowing the options that you have regarding those company pension schemes. Now, what we usually recommend that people do when they come to us is that they sign something called a letter of authority. There's no cost or obligations from it, and we will just send that away to all the pension providers of their old employments and give them an overview of exactly what's going on there, how they're doing, how they're invested, and what they're on track to give you in retirement. And we will also outline the different options that you have regarding those pension schemes or those pension funds. And usually people will have maybe 3 to 4 options depending on how many years of service they had with that company after joining the pension scheme. The first option is usually to take a refund of your contributions minus 20% tax. However, that usually only applies to people who have left the company within a 2-year period of joining the company pension scheme. So as I said, you can take a refund of contributions minus the 20% tax rate, and it's worthwhile getting some advice to make sure that that is the right thing for you. Now, for people that have more than 2 years of service, they generally don't have the option to take a refund of contributions. So their options are to either leave the funds where they are in the old company pension scheme, to move them into a new company pension scheme if your new employer has a company pension scheme, or to move them to a personal arrangement like a buyout bond or a personal retirement bond. They're the same thing, or something called a PRSA. So firstly, just to I suppose focus on leaving schemes in the old company. So look, as you would assume, you just leave it within the old company scheme and you get to access those benefits when you reach the normal retirement age under that scheme, which is usually somewhere between 60 and 65. Now, I'm not a big fan of people leaving pensions behind in old employment. A lot of people might forget about them, firstly, and secondly, you don't really want to be tracking down your old employer when you want to retire or access those benefits. You want to move on. It can also be quite restrictive because you're bound to what that old scheme provides, which is usually access only between 60 to 65, and quite restrictive also in terms of investment options. A lot of big corporate schemes would have only maybe too low risk, too medium risk, and too high risk funds or something like that, and you'll find that maybe those funds are really underperforming versus what else is out there in the market. And there's certainly, I suppose, a lack of transparency or management. You'll probably just get a letter in the post once a year, so some people aren't really, I suppose, comfortable with that. The second option is to move the pension funds to your new employment scheme if your new company has a company pension scheme. A lot of people will maybe look to do this because they see it as tidying up their pensions and amalgamating them all under one roof. But let me just stress that it can actually be quite advantageous to have a couple of different pension schemes because you can kind of draw them down at different points in time. Having all your pensions under the one roof, there's not massive advantages of it, so it's worthwhile getting some advice around if that's the right thing to do. One reason that does make sense regarding transferring your benefits in the old scheme to the new scheme is that the service that you have in the previous company pension scheme will count towards that 2-year vesting period within the new company pension scheme. So if you think you might be moving on from your new employer within a short space of time, it might be worthwhile getting some advice around transferring the benefits into the new company pension scheme. Now, the third option that people have is to move the benefits to a personal arrangement like a personal retirement bond or a buyout bond, or the same thing, or something called a PRSA. The personal retirement bond or buyout bond is usually the preferred option for most of our clients, because firstly it just kind of breaks links with the old employer and moves all their benefits into something in their own name where they have a bit more control and transparency over the funds. They have a bit more, I suppose, certainty about how and when the benefits are taken. They also have a lot more choice because, along with our advice, they can seek out the best options in the market, and they're not restricted to what that old scheme provides. They can place their monies with any pension provider or any funds in the Irish market, and hopefully get better performance than what would be available in the old company pension scheme. And probably, I suppose, one of the main incentives as well of doing so is that with a personal retirement bond, you get to access the funds from age 50 onwards. Whereas within most company pension schemes, your funds are usually tied up between 60 and 65, so the early access is great for a lot of people as well to have that option. So if anybody does need to get a bit of advice around that, or does want to look into what pension funds or schemes they have, sitting around in old employment, please do feel free to reach out and we're happy to help.